Hey, Dustin here, Smoking Eagles Rod Shop, back with another video for you guys. Now today, we're going to be swapping an HEI GM distributor, just like this one, actually, it is this one, into my 351 Windsor. Now, it happens to be in my old E150 econoline van, but you may have a 351 Windsor in a Mustang, a Cougar, who knows what. You may have put it in a golf cart for all I know, but they make these HEI distributors for all kinds of cars, whether it's a Dodge, Chrysler, Ford, Chevy, obviously. Maybe they make them for Studebakers. I don't know, but it really simplifies your electronics in these old cars, especially Fords, because it was like every 15 minutes they changed their electrical diagram and setup, and they got these stupid computer boxes. They never work. They're notorious. Guys say they drive around with them behind the back seat of their trucks just because they go out so often. And you know, these things are tried and true. They're reliable, parts are readily available, and I'm used to it. It runs one single wire that runs off of your key switch, so it essentially eliminates all kinds of gremlins. I want you guys to be comfortable pulling the distributor out and putting a new distributor in and knowing what you're doing, understanding the process. So that's what we're gonna do today. So here's the distributor I've chosen. I got it on Amazon. I also got the little pigtail here, and it's not name brand. They sent it in a white box, which is perfectly fine. I think it was like $65 or something, guys. It comes with an adjustable vacuum advance. I'll put a link in the description of the video if you guys want to pick up this exact distributor, and maybe a link to a couple of different ones. Of course, they got different color caps. They got clear ones. Just depends on how fancy you want to get. I went with the blue one because, you know, it's a Ford, and I actually like blue. Everything I own is blue, so yeah. Now, if you don't know anything about these HEI distributors, the coil is actually underneath here. You can pick them up at any local parts store because they put these GM distributors on every small block and big block Chevy for like 50 years. They just work. They're dependable. You got your standard cap. Now, on your distributor itself, you've just got this rotor, and it's got two little screws that hold it on there, and then you've got this little electrical ECM or whatever you want to call it, and those are super cheap as well. But again, like I said, most of this stuff almost never goes bad, and that's why they are superior to all the other systems that are out there, like this Ford, where it's got a coil, it's got this stator pickup in here, and then it's got this brain box over here, and it's got all kinds of resistor wires and everything else. And this is a 76. The older stuff, they still had points and all that. You eliminate all that stuff by going to this other distributor. Obviously, if you have a show car and you want it to be 100% original, this isn't going to be the way to go for you, because the cap is going to look like a GM cap. They do make some other things that you can put inside your distributor there to eliminate points and clean some things up, but they are considerably more expensive. You're going to pay 2, 3, 4, even 5 times as much as you are to just go to this GM HEI distributor, and these parts are readily available. The other parts, you're going to have to order that stuff from speed shops, and if it breaks down on the side of the highway, you're not going to be able to just pick them up at your O'Reilly's or your AutoZone or Napa. So anyway, we were trying to get this distributor out, and typical Ford stuff. This was all seized up down in here. No big deal. We just took a can of Pepsi, or a bottle of Pepsi. We filled this cap up a half dozen times. Take that Pepsi, pour it right down at the base of the distributor. Used a couple of little picks and picked the garbage out of there and let that Pepsi really get down there, eat its way in, and boom, it freed this baby right up. And it is ready for us to pop out of here. Now, we have our wiring all unhooked. We need to take the rotor cap off of there. And I've never actually pulled the distributor out of a Ford before, but there's the driver for the oil pump, just like on a Chevy, except this one has a hex on the top, and they're known to fall off. They're known to get stuck in the bottom of the distributor and fall off and kind of bounce around in there and sometimes end up in your oil pan. So we're going to try to avoid that situation, but I'm just letting you know, be very aware that that is a possibility. So what I'm going to do to try to avoid that is I'm going to lift this distributor up just ever so slightly, jiggle it around a lot, set it down, pick it up, you know, a half dozen times, and try and knock that free and make sure everything is loose so that that stays down in the oil pump and doesn't give us any grief. But it probably will, because, you know, That's just the way life goes. I am going to have to move this fuel line out of the way. All right, guys, so it's real difficult to see, but if you see my finger wiggling down in there, right there is the timing tab, right there. And we've got this set on top dead center on the compression stroke. Now, the way you know you're on the compression stroke is your rotor button is going to point directly at the #1 spark plug on the cap. The #1 spark plug on a Ford is up here in the front. It's not going to be pointed this way. It's going to be pointed at the #1 plug wire. So you need to follow that plug wire up onto your cap and figure out where that's located on your cap. On this Ford, it's supposed to be back here. Now, if it's not, let's say that plug wire goes somewhere else. That means somebody else has probably swapped the plugs around one to make it run or who knows what. Look at your book, look at your diagram. It should be this back one back here. That plug wire should come right back here. So this tells us we're on the compression stroke. If it's over here somewhere, then it's on the exhaust stroke. So you need to rotate your engine around back to top dead center for a second time, and it will be right here, and it won't be 180 off. Then you know exactly where you are, and then when we put our new distributor in, our new one should point right at the #1. On the GM distributor cap, it'll be the exact same way, and then we can put our plug wires back on in the exact same order, just like Ford intended it to be. The only difference is going to be we're going to have the HEI electronic system running the engine. So with that being said, we've got our fuel line out of here. Hopefully you guys kind of understood that. The bottom of your distributor has these gears, and they are notched, and they go at an angle. So when you set it down in there or you pull it up out of there, it has to rotate. So when I pull this up out of here, I'm going to have to rotate this counterclockwise or clockwise, depending on the helix of the gear on whatever engine you're working on, to get that to come apart. And then when we set it back in, we're going to have to set it in and let it rotate down into place. Now that oil pump driver that I was talking about, on a Ford, it drives off of a hex right here like this. Now on a regular Chevy, it's got a little slot down in there, and there's the shaft in the oil pump looks like a female side of a screwdriver. So you can just stick a flat screwdriver down in there and you can rotate that oil pump. So that's what we don't want to stick in the bottom of this. So we're going to lift this up and down and jiggle it around a whole bunch until we feel comfortable that we're not going to get screwed. And then we're going to pull this out and see how screwed we really are. That is the game plan. I'll get you guys set up somewhere so you can kind of watch the action unfold. Okay, yep, you hold that hose out of the way, and I'll pull this straight up out of here. It's not on there. So as you can see, this thing is super slimy, super gross. So I'm just going to lay this next to the new distributor and make sure everything from that O-ring down looks to be correct, and they didn't send me one for, I don't know, Volkswagen or something. All right, guys, so I got both the distributors laying next to each other, and I'm just going to double check everything and make sure they didn't send me one for something different. So I'm going to measure from this edge to the end, and it looks like it's roughly 5 inches. Same here, roughly 5 inches. Then I'm going to measure from this lip down to the bottom of here. That's like 1.5 inches. From there, 1.5 inches. To the gears, about 3.5 inches. To the gears, about 3.5 inches. So everything appears to be right. 1/2 inch wide gear, 1/2 inch wide gear. Even the diameters are about the same, 1.25 inches, 1.25 inches. Now I know what you're thinking, Dustin, this distributor's way taller. Well, it has to be on a Ford. This distributor is pretty small in diameter, and it sits down inside that intake. To get all this HEI crap to clear the intake, it has to be way higher. I've heard a lot of guys say that their air cleaner doesn't fit afterwards, blah, 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 blah. If you're running like a Boss 302 or something, that may be an issue. But for us, I'll just throw a little chrome air cleaner on. I don't care. I got like 100 of them. But as far as the, you know, the fun make it happener stuff, it's all the same, and that's all that matters to us. Probably should have checked this diameter here, but I'm just going to assume since everything else is good, it's going to be good. One thing I do recommend on all these Chinese parts that you're getting, because let's be honest, this stuff is either coming from China, Taiwan, somewhere that ain't here, right? Check all your roll pins. One of these was in flush, and it probably would have been fine, but I just tapped it over so it's centered up, makes me feel better. Make sure your gear, nothing's going to fall apart in your engine, because again, falls apart in your motor, you're going to be rebuilding your motor or buying a new motor. Everything on this seems to be assembled correctly, looks to be functioning. I don't see any issues with it. I'm going to put a little bit of break-in oil on all this stuff down here and around this O-ring before I slide it down in there, just because it's brand new parts going on old worn out stuff and I don't want it to eat itself immediately. I don't know how well this distributor is even getting oil in this old engine anymore. So I'm just trying to be proactive. Other than that, it's going to drop in the exact same way. We're going to want our vacuum advance kind of pointed the same direction, but the timing's probably going to be a little bit hokey until we set it. And yeah, we're going to want our rotor pointed the right direction and our cap. Now you aren't going to be able to use your regular plug wires, or at least I'm not, because this end of my plug wires are kind of a different style. So I don't think they're going to work, but they might. We'll try one. We'll see. If not, I think I got a set upstairs. If not, I'll put a link in the description for some plug wires that I know will work if you're going to buy this thing. Yeah, I think we're ready. Dad just sucked a bunch of crap down inside the distributor hole. Let's show them what that looks like in there, just so they know how nice and shiny it is. It may have a few miles on it. Is that oil driver, rod, shaft, whatever, look to be in the center of that? Did you look? I can't really tell through the camera.
Yeah, it's hard to tell through the camera, but I see where it's supposed to be.
Okay, well, I'll eyeball down in there, make sure that looks good, and then we'll start dropping this thing in there, guys. All right, guys, so I got some lube on there. It's just some ultra slick break-in engine assembly lube. And then I also put some, I got this little squirter can. It just has like some 30 weight Lucas break-in oil. And we got that all lubed up really good. Got that all swept out, so it's nice and clean. And we're gonna toss this baby in there and see if I can't get this all to line up. So wish me luck.
About around where you want it.
Yep. Yeah, I don't remember which way it came out. Come out that way?
Yep.
Yep, slides in that way. I think that's off a tooth, because it was pointed more that way. I'll lift it up and rotate it back just a little bit, but I think I mean, it's engaged with the oil pump.
Remember, you're engaged with that shaft too, so don't get crazy.
Yep. So lift it up just ever so slightly. Come on, baby. I think I'm on the right tooth, but I think I need the old starter trick. But I'll put a bar on the end of that. Should be able to jiggle it back and forth. That should rotate that oil pump just a smidgen.
Okay.
And it should drop right in. So what was the end of that?
15/16.
This is fun. Okay. Come on, baby. Okay, I didn't see the rotor moving before.
Yeah.
Might be because that oil pump shaft is hexed, so that means you only got so many spots that it will drop into the end of the distributor.
Right, and it dropped in one tooth off, so that means it needs to technically go backwards. There. There it's in.
Okay.
There it's in. Now let me make sure I'm on top dead center over here. We're close. I need to go past it, to be honest. Okay, that should be past it. Almost. Like running a Bridgeport. Go past it and then come back, take the slack out of it. Now we should be able to come right back to zero. We should be right on the money. And hopefully, I can just lift that up and down just a couple times, jiggle it just a little bit, and it should fully engage perfectly. That's not it. Okay, it's that one right there. Okay, we're coming up on it. Can't tell if that's it or not. Nope, one more. That should be it right there. That should be top dead center.
Yeah, see, that's only up about, not much.
Yep, it's not up much, so that's what I was thinking. Okay, so now these wires need to be not munched down in here. So you might be able to pull them up through here. It's hitting something. Oh, all these frickin' vacuum lines. It's hitting these vacuum lines back here. See those? Those are stopping it from going in all the way. And I can't rotate it at all. All right, so we got the distributor in there. It's on the right spot, tooth on the cam. The problem I have is there's this multi-port vacuum thing back here, and it was actually running a vacuum advance, but it was kind of hindering me rotating the distributor. As you can see, it's really close to hitting about 100 things in here. So the plan I've come up with is I have these little caps. I found a couple that are too long and they're just barely too big. Like it fits on there kind of snug, but you can tell that over time it's probably not gonna work. So I came up with this permanent fix. A little bit of Permatex in the hole of the little plug, and I trimmed it off to the right length so it won't hinder the old distributor there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna shove this on there, twist it around, let that dry, and then that should be perfect. No vacuum leaks. And it won't get in the way of our distributor. Just like that. I'm gonna make another one for this top one, and then put it on there, and then that'll allow us to rotate our distributor. And I know what you're thinking, Dustin, what about your vacuum advance? Well, I'm just gonna hook it to the opposite side here with a little bit longer piece of hose. This hose here just goes up to my vacuum gauge that we're gonna use when we set the timing, and then I can unplug it and plug the vacuum advance in. So it'll work out just fine. All right, guys, it is a snug fit, let me tell you. So I put this aftermarket water temp gauge on here so I don't just have idiot lights. I wanna make sure the only idiot in this van is me. And this was rubbing on the distributor right on the edge, like right on the very edge of this. So what I had to do is I actually had to put a wrench on this and rotate this fitting just enough. I don't know if you guys can see that, but so that the flat on that fitting gives about there's maybe 20 thousandths. You probably fit a matchbook between that fitting and the housing on the distributor, but that allows it to seat fully in the engine, and it allows me to rotate it to adjust the timing. It would rotate just a little ways and then it would hang up, and it was kind of metal on metal. And yeah, so it's a tight fit. It's a tight fit, but we have clearance. Pretty excited about that. My fuel line, we're gonna put that cap on, and we're gonna see where this fuel line is gonna need to go. So we did have a little bit of an issue with our fuel filter here and our fuel line. is coming out of the carburetor and running right into the back of this new distributor. So again, depending on your application, you're gonna have different obstacles. This is like right into here. So obviously this could be shortened down and the right fitting could be put on here to buy a little more clearance for that. There's a lot of things. We'll change that if need be at a later date. We'll see as the project continues on. But for right now, I had a little 90-degree fitting. We screwed into the carburetor there. I did have to cut about, what was that, maybe 1/8 of an inch off the end of that. Off the end of the accelerator pump shaft. It doesn't do anything. It just sticks out here and was in my way. So cut that off so I could thread that in. We're going to run the fuel line instead of out here and around the distributor. We're actually going to run it underneath the accelerator pump. And we're going to come right out on this side of the distributor and go right down to the fuel pump. So instead of the line going this way, it's going to go that way. But again, that's all things pertinent to our situation. Didn't really matter as far as putting the distributor in and getting this thing fired up. So we've got our #1 spark plug wire. We followed it from #1 and it went to here on our old cap, and we're just going to put it on our #1 plug on the new cap, and then we're just going to take this one, hook it to the next one, and just work our way all the way around till we're out of plug wires. Now these wires don't really hook onto here quite right, but we're going to set them on here. Hopefully we don't bump them and they fall off and then we're back at square one. And I'm going to go try and find some plug wires that will fit, and we can swap them out for some GM plug wires. You can also buy these ends. So you could just buy a pack of these ends, cut this off, and put new ends on there. I don't have a set of those ends right now, or else that's exactly what I would do. So we got our HEI plug here for our distributor, and I've pulled the green wire out. Well, actually Dad did. Pulled the green wire out because it is the tack wire. We don't actually need a tack wire for what we're doing, so I'm not going to tape that wire off and have a bunch of stuff dangling around we don't need. So we've removed that. There's 2 wires on the distributor. One comes out of the base of the distributor, and they plug in right here on this, and it's actually marked. It tells you. So the one from the base of the distributor plugs into the backside here. The one in the front is where this pigtail goes. It's going to plug in, and all it needs is a hot. So what I've done is I've unplugged the wiring harness here from the van. This was the original wiring harness that went to the coil and 100 other places. I unplugged it from here. I removed these 3 wires that we don't need. One of them was the tack wire, which the van doesn't have a tack anyway. The other 2 went to, I don't know, cruise control or some other crap, but less crap in the engine bay, the better. So we've just got our 2 hot wires coming out that get hot with the key switch. I did not alter this. I just plugged the 2 together with a spade for now. I'll wrap some electrical tape around it. Make sure this thing fires up and runs. And then I'll go back and I'll professionalize everything, clean everything up, put, you know, real connectors on it. This is all the old wiring that went to the old distributor. Again, we just taped all that stuff off for time being so we can see if this thing will fire up and run. And then I'll tidy all that up later. You guys don't care about that stuff, so I'm not going to bore you with any of it. And we want to see if this thing fires. So plug this in here. Wrap a little electrical tape around this. And then I'll get on the fuel line. We'll get a temporary fuel line run and see if this thing will light off and see if we can't set our timing. All right, so I've temporarily got my wires zip tied up here. We got our single hot wire that goes down from our ignition. And I checked it with the key switch. We made sure we had 12 volts there. We got all our plug wires on, and again, they're not the right ones, but we just want to see if we can get this thing to fire up and run. And then we remanufactured the old fuel line there, and that kind of needs a little bit of tweaking too, but again, we just want to get this running for you guys. We got the distributor tightened up just a little bit so we can rotate it to adjust our timing. We got our timing light here, and our timing mark is way down in there. We're not going to be able to show you guys that on the fly while we're trying to get this thing started up for the first time. But I wanted you to see kind of the setup that we have here. And essentially, we've eliminated all the wiring except for this one key switch wire coming from the car. we have our vacuum advance unhooked, and we've got a vacuum gauge right here so that we can I can set the timing and get this thing running really good, or as good as it can run. Ready?
Yep.
Check that, but hey, it ran, guys. Okay, I'm gonna shut the camera off. We're gonna double check those plug wires, make sure one of them didn't fall off and get switched. Because remember, I knocked those two off and then we thought they went back on the right way. And we'll figure out this fuel leak because we can't just let this thing run while it's spitting fuel all over. But it did run. I would venture to say it ran better than when we drove it the other day. So, headed the right direction. Yeah, we'll be right back. Intermission. All right, guys, so it took us a little bit of time. We put new plugs in here and then got the correct wires to fit on that cap. Fired it up, and we set the timing at about 8 degrees before top dead center. It's running really good. As you can see, we've got a single wire coming off that distributor. It's running everything. It's running really good. Highly recommend the HEI Distributor swap over. I haven't hooked up our vacuum advance yet. Those are adjustable. There's a little Allen wrench you can stick in there, and then you can adjust your total timing. That is a video for another day. This is just to show you how to pull that distributor out, put that HEI in there, and get this thing running. Don't be scared of it, guys. You can do it on your own. We did it here. This thing hasn't been plated since '03, and it's running really good now. Of course, it does have a new water pump, timing chain and gears, a new distributor, all new plugs, wires, and brakes, gas tank, battery, you name it, I pretty much already bought it. Yeah. 4, 6, 4 rebuilds daily. I think that's gonna do it for this video on tossing the HEI distributor in the old van. I'm gonna put some other stuff around my melon here, stuff I'm doing around the shop. Make sure you go check that stuff out. I'm gonna get back on the van, see if we can't tune this carburetor, get it running just a little bit better, and maybe take it for a cruise. Till next time, keep on wrenching. Peace.